This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 43. Hello and welcome to Comic Geek Speak, episode 43, brought to you in conjunction with WorldFamousComics.com, the best spot on the internet for all your comics news. I'm Brian Deemer.
I'm Kevin Moyer.
I'm Jamie D.
I'm Shane Kelly.
I'm Peter Rios.
We are sexy bitches, yeah!
Okay, and welcome to our show. I think for today, by popular demand, we're going to do another all-listener email episode because we're now up to 92 messages.
Jeez.
We will never get through all of them. It's ridiculous. But we've made a promise to you that if you send us an email, we will read it on the air. So we are cursed by that promise.
When the hell did we make that promise?
Well, we've implied it, so we'll stick with it.
Okay, an implied promise.
That's right.
No, it's still cool. I like doing this.
Okay, so I'm just going to move right into them unless you guys have anything to say. Nothing of merit. Okay. Here's one from David. He doesn't have his last name. And this is a novella here, so I'm going to just start reading. Another great episode, that is episode 35. My coworker's vacation is over, so I'll have to try to listen to the older episodes whenever I can. As it is right now, I'm working on one or two an evening. Like others have said, listening to the podcast does feel like hanging out with friends. And seriously, what's better than hanging out with friends talking comic books? Well, hanging out with friends talking comic books with girls.
The strip
Say
club.
female friends.
That's right.
Hot naked comic chicks.
There you go, yes. Comics have been a hobby of mine for many, many years. There was a time when I was sending out submissions trying to break into the business as an inker. Needless to say, that didn't pan out. While I continued to purchase comics, the reading went on hold so I could focus on finishing school and obtain my bachelor's in information technology. Now that that's done, yay, I can go back and read everything that's been waiting for me. Books like Fantastic Four from 501 to the present, 100 Bullets, Spider-Man, Supreme Power, Green Lantern Rebirth and the new series, Green Arrow, Catwoman, Planetary, The Losers, The Ultimates, and Wolverine, to name a few. I'm caught up on Teen Titans and Outsiders, Captain America and the Falcon. Still bummed it was canceled, but enjoying the Brubaker cap. I spent time on eBay in between classes and picked up the entire run of Black Panther by Priest, Quantum and Woody, and various limited series.
Nice.
Good stuff.
Some I didn't read, like Superman for All Seasons, Hulk Gray, Daredevil Yellow, Spider-Man Blue. Some I had to replace, like JLA Year One. I took the time to read Identity Crisis, and formerly known as the Justice League, but I'm still waiting to sit down with Trinity, thank God for Matt Wagner, and JLA Avengers and various Grendel series. As you can see, I tend to stick with the big two, but am open to new things as well as anything I may have overlooked, which is most likely where the podcast will fit in. Along with anything that my shop might recommend, I currently get my comics pulled at Comic Book Heaven in White Plains, New York. And while I still have it in my head, you are all very fluent in naming and listing writers. My beef is that you seem to show no love to inkers. I guess as a guy who wanted to be an inker,
Yeah.
stands out. I hear art by blank, where the artist is generally the penciler, but never an art team. Alan Davis is pretty much hands down my favorite penciler, but he truly shines when inked by Mark Farmer. I'm sure nowadays it's easy and commonplace to refer to it as Claremont and Burns X-Men, but Terry Austin was an integral part of that team. I will not disagree.
Absolutely not.
Didn't Terry Austin ink Art Adams a lot, too?
He did in like a classic X-Men and stuff like that. He started
the covers or whatever.
Yeah, he started helping him out and doing stuff, and he kind of changed his style then too. Like if you look at his stuff when he did with Byrne, and look at his stuff he did with Art Adams and some other artists later on, it's a much more less detailed style, very more clean.
And the other guy who sticks out is Scott Williams on everything Jim Lee does. I mean, has anybody else ever inked Jim Lee in the last 15 years than
Art
Scott
Thibert?
Williams?
Wasn't
Art T-Bear.
T-Bear, I'm sorry.
Does he ink too?
He inks.
Oh.
He inks.
All right, where was I? As an editor-in-chief, Quesada is a fantastic penciler, but Jimmy Palmiotti was also involved in Guardian Devil, Ash, and Ninjak. George Perez didn't do Crisis alone. He had Jerry Ordway and Dick Giorgiano ink his pencils. Scott Williams does wonders to Jim Lee's art, I'm sure. Josef Rubinstein is a boon to anyone he inks. Granted, there are some inkers that add nothing, ruin, or just downright destroy pencils, rendering a book unreadable. Just my opinion, but Tom Palmer doesn't do it for me. Maybe it was all that time inking John Buscema, but whenever he inks, his style almost smothers the pencils. Neither does Klaus Janson. He has a style that works, but I'm not a huge fan. Al Milgrom worked on a lot of the Spectacular Spider-Man issues I remember in the 80s, but I get the feeling that he's only going over the pencils, not adding depth or anything to the pencils. I think Kevin Nolan does amazing work, but I'm not thrilled with his inking. Not to speak ill of the dead, but Vince Colletta spoiled many pencils. Naturally, there are folks that do not need inkers, Gil Kane, Matt Wagner, although Sam Keith inking Mage the Hero Discovered isn't anything to sneeze at. Nor was the job Art Nichols did on the Demon miniseries. George Perez, Bernie Wrightson, Jason Pearson, John Cassaday, Adam Hughes, and Tim Sale, to name a few. John Byrne should almost always have an inker, and sometimes John Romita Jr., to rein him in a bit. So maybe I should ask, who makes up your favorite art team, and who would you like to see work together on a title, any title? Sorry this is so long. I'll wrap it up now. Looking forward to the next episode. Take care of yourselves and have a great day. David.
I'll throw one out. Howard Porter on JLA with John Dell. I liked what they did.
They seem to work well together.
Yeah.
They did other work together. What?
Are they just
they've
on
been a
Flash
team.
too? I don't know if he's on.
Was Dell on Flash?
I think he was. I think they kind of have stuck together, sort of as a team. Just like John Romita Jr. and Scott Hanna have done a lot of work together.
Scott Hanna does really nice work on John Romita Jr.
Yeah.
I'd rather see him than Klaus Janson any day.
Yeah. Klaus has a very unique style, and it only fits for certain things.
Yeah.
I think he's very talented, but I don't enjoy a lot of his things.
Yeah, there are certain inkers that their style shows through as well, which is not always a bad thing. Like one I can think of in the 80s is Mike DiCarlo. I think he actually did an issue of Crisis. Might have even done some Legion of Superheroes Baxter stuff over Greg LaRocque. And you can tell a Mike DiCarlo inked book, which sometimes that kind of turns me off.
Bill Sienkiewicz is like that too.
Yeah.
When he comes on and inks a book, he totally takes his style right over top of it.
Yeah.
No matter who's the artist.
This is kind of funny. We were talking about this before we started this. As far as an ink team, I was saying that the Byrne stuff on the new Action Comics I really liked because it was probably the nicest, and I'm a huge John Byrne fan, it's the nicest John Byrne I've seen in years, and I credit it to the fact that Nelson is inking him, and it's the cleanest. It reminds me of last time I saw his artwork like this was the Fantastic Four, where it was Jerry Ordway was doing his inking. It's just clean, crisp, and beautiful artwork right now, and that's one of my favorites right now of all time. Actually, I liked Tom Palmer when he was doing the Avengers with Buscema. I will admit, though, that Tom Palmer does have a tendency to put his own style in everything he does. If you look at that Silver Surfer, the Volume 2, the one issue that's considered Volume 2 of Silver Surfer, it's Byrne artwork, but it doesn't look it. Tom Palmer did the inking on it, and it looks like a Tom Palmer book. Alan Davis and Mark Farmer I've been following for years. Actually,
he also had Paul Neary and Brian Hitch as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, no, Brian Hitch didn't ink. Brian Hitch worked with Paul Neary as well.
Oh, that's okay.
They're more like a team now, like Davis and Farmer are now.
He didn't work on it? I thought that his big influence was Alan Davis.
It might have been an influence, but I don't think he actually really
Like
paired with him, as far as I recall. I'm not saying I'm
Yeah,
100% right.
Yeah, I don't remember. I liked Carl Kessel on Byrne in some of the early Superman stuff.
I agree too.
That was really some decent stuff.
I always liked Jim Lee and Scott Williams, like they said. I could see them do almost anything.
So we'll have to remember to credit the inker.
And then we're going to have to remember to credit colorists and
Yeah.
letterers and editors.
Well, that's true because there's books now that there are no inkers.
Mhm.
They're just tightened pencils with colors on them. So they've bypassed that process now.
And a lot of the letters now is just computers, just typing it in. And although and for a while I was thinking, well, who the hell cares? As long as I can read it, I don't care. But then I was looking at that group page, and that's lettered by Stan Sakai. and I was looking at it, and then I was reading some newer comics, and I went, wow, it does make a difference. And you have someone who's very talented hand lettering that. It pops off the page. It just adds more flavor to the whole comic experience, I think.
Yeah, there's a gentleman in our area that Ken Bruznak, who was highly innovative when it came to lettering. His stuff, he is basically Howard Chaykin's letterer. I mean, it's in recent years I've seen since he's been working at DC, he hasn't used them all the time, but back in the first comic days of American Flag and that, he was his letterer. And if you look at those issues of American Flag and see what he added to them, it's amazing. Just what he put into it, the sound effects, the lettering itself. I've never come to respect a letterer more than when I looked at his artwork.
It seems to have a real natural flow to it. Looks very pleasing. And then, like you said, with Bruzenak, when he did these special effects where they just like popped at you, doing the non-traditional lettering is what really made it that pizzazz come out to you. That's what made another whole aspect of American Flag.
Well, and it's not so routine because it's hand done, so not every single time an N appears it looks exactly the same. I mean, it's close because these guys are professional, but it's a little different, so it just
gives a little characterization.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I wonder if J. Scott Campbell uses an inker if he does his own. I can't remember. I mean, he doesn't do a whole lot anymore, but when he does do a book, I can't quite remember who he does use because he's another one of my favorites, and his stuff always looks clean to me, but I don't know who he uses.
I don't know. I think, nowadays, I mean, I used to remember paying attention to inkers, but now it's kind of like, as long as the inker hasn't screwed up the artist that I like, I tend to gloss over on who did the inks, because they're just like, oh, it looks good. When they do a bad job, I go, who's this guy? And then I pay attention.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad. Of course, I can't even remember anything about any of the books. So.
Well, just in the last 5-6 years have I even started to learn all these artists, writers, inkers, teams, and everything. Before that, I was just oblivious to story alone, and it's not necessarily that I cared who the writer was as long as I enjoyed the story. It didn't matter to me even if the art was a little bit bad, but it's only in the last few years that I'm actually paying attention and trying to retain some of this stuff and learn the history behind it.
Yeah, it was always funny with Shane when we walked through comic book shows. I would be, oh, there's that guy, there's that guy, there's that guy. Shane could almost walk into Stan Lee and knock him over and look at him and just go and pick him up and not even know who he was.
He's about the only one I'd probably have known at the time.
And see, I'm like the opposite. I've always focused on learning who the people are, get to know them like in fan magazines like Amazing Heroes and Comics Journal, and get to recognize them in their past, who their influences were, and such like that. So I always like to learn that stuff.
Well, that's even influenced some of my back issue buying and whatnot over the last couple of years, just because I'm reading some of these articles where some of these guys were so passionate about their work at that time. Yeah. And I'm going back and thinking, oh, well, shit, now I got to pick that up and try and read it because it sounded really good.
It's funny, all the details about the actual comics that I don't remember, what I tend to remember is who wrote it or who drew it or both. Like, that's how I remember comics. You'll say, oh, I can remember years, and I can remember the art teams or the creative teams, but I can't remember, what the hell happened in that issue. I have absolutely no idea. Like, I have all those X-Men issues with the Mark Silvestri and the Jim Lee and all that stuff, and the Will Spartasio. I remember loving it. I could not tell you a single thing that happens. Not one detail from any of those books.
And if somebody brings it up, you're like, yeah, I kind of remember that, but don't remember
but
where.
But I can tell you, about what years those came out and who did them and all that stuff. But anything else, I don't. So it's weird how I remember that stuff, but not anything else.
David mentioned about Christopher Priest, the Captain America Falcon. Just to throw it out there, that the book was canceled, but he is tapped to do something else at Marvel, although he hasn't mentioned what just yet.
Has there been something mentioned that he's going to be a continuation of that series? That it's going to be more focused on Falcon or something like that?
That's what he said, something like that. But I haven't finished that series yet, so I don't know how it ended. But
plus, they really haven't said much about it. So
no.
You haven't heard much information about it at all, which is kind of odd.
They wanted the solo, the Brubaker Captain America book to stand out, so I can understand the reasoning behind it. I can also understand the reasoning why they started that book, to kind of compete with Superman Batman, to have a book similar to, but Christopher Priest's run on that was really good, but it's nice to know that something else is in the works.
By the way, I just read that first trade of that Captain America. God, is that awesome.
I just got the hardcover. I didn't read it yet.
Yeah,
but
I
just
read
got
it in one sitting. The first day, Friday. I got my books and I read it that Friday.
It's just one of those you can't put down.
Plowed
You start
through,
reading.
all 6 or 7 issues. 7 issues. I just read it straight through. Just went, wow.
Yeah, it's one of those books that I finish reading and I want the next book right away. I want to see where they're going.
Yeah, if you enjoy Captain America even the slightest bit, you owe it to yourself to go buy that hardcover because man, it's good.
I've been dying for a good Cap book for all these revamps and redones when they did stuff. And like finally, maybe they'll do a real good Cap, and it always falls short. And
the artwork is stunning. I mean, the main. Okay, now I just was about to say it. Yeah, Steve Epting.
Mm-hmm.
He did Crux for CrossGen, and I enjoyed his work on there, but it never really struck me. I thought it was good enough. And now on this Cap, I was like, wow, it's good. And then there's flashback sequences to World War II that are all drawn by Michael Lark. Holy hell. I never heard of this guy before, and I saw this stuff and went, well, now he's on my radar because, damn, he's good. And
that's why I'm kind of enthused. Maybe next week we'll find out that might be the creative team for Daredevil after Bendis and Malev take leave.
Oh, that's who you said was...
Ed Brubaker and Michael Lark.
Oh, if Michael Lark is on Daredevil, that's I will be just as happy. Because he kind of reminds me of Malev a little bit.
Yeah, he has a similar style, but it's not exact.
No, it's not exact, but it's...
And he draws, where, like Malev is more of a digitally enhanced kind of photorealistic style, whereas Michael Lark still does original artwork and such. But it is a similar type of style.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
I flipped through that Captain America stuff. It seemed to me like Steve Epting is going now like the Greg Land route, where they look kind of...
It's more like a shaded kind of art. And
it looks like they're all based on real people or poses, and it kind of... I don't know, and it looks... I don't know if it's coloring. It looks a little muddy to me. Like I flipped through and I thought, you're right. It looked like... But I'm not a fan. I was kind of like...
Well, I think...
Maybe it's the story.
I think it might be a case of the inker is not doing justice to the pencils. Because then I was remembering, oh, that's right, Crux, he drew that. And his stuff was crisper on Crux. And it was a monthly book for 2 years, so it wasn't. Right. It's not like a scheduling issue. It's not like he's hurrying. So it could be an inker situation. I didn't pay attention.
Yeah, I didn't read it yet, but I'm wondering, is it inked? Is it actually inked? Is it his pencils being colored? Maybe that's why it probably looks different for you.
I think it needs to be inked.
I think that's what it is. On the preview pages that I saw, I thought, like you said, the art style is similar to the Greg Land, but I think he's doing that intentionally to have that more shaded style, and then it's not being inked, it's being colored. Yeah. So that's probably why it looks more, like you said, muddy or washed rather than being crisp and clean.
Is a better word. Yeah,
that probably could be why it looks that way.
His stuff in Avengers, when he did it, was very superhero-y and sketchy and things like that. But as far as the inked, taking the pages right off the thing.
Kevin's looking through. I got the hard.
Are you on?
I can hear it.
Because my whole headphones are freaking out here. My hardcover is printed upside down.
Are you serious?
The gold embossed cover that says Captain America is on the back, and the whole thing is upside down. You have to flip it over.
Get out.
Look at that. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
It says in the credits on the title page, it says artist Steve Epting, Michael Lark flashback art, and then John Paul Leone and Tom Palmer on issue 7, and then it just goes to colorist. So I think it's his style just being
or
penciled.
Unless he's inking it himself.
That could be too, but it looks to me more...
Because that's Salvador Larroca when he was doing Extreme X-Men, and they shot the work right off of his pencils and then colored it. I thought that was great.
Yeah, it looks all washed out to me. I don't like it.
I thought that was neat.
Did they do that with that Flash run that kind of looked watercolored?
No, that's just Scott Collins the way he
That's something that grew on me after a few issues. Mm-hmm. I didn't like it at first, but by the end of that run, I loved it.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I think it's more along the lines of the fact that you were saying it was dark, and I think that's what they're going for. They're going for
so it's a story,
the reality type, the Law and Order, whatever,
right.
Dark, gritty type story. A lot of the story takes place on SHIELD helicarrier and darkened office rooms and sewers and places like that, where you're not going to get a lot of light. It's not the story that they're telling, and not to give anything away, is a is a dark, dirty story, and I personally think what they're doing with it just lends to it, and is such such a good. It's just done in a very good way, and it's lending itself to that way.
Cool.
Basically, the book is freaking swear.
Yes.
Freaking.
All right, we got one email down. Let's go.
Yeah, it's been like 20 minutes since we have one email.
Thank you, David.
Okay, the next one is from our official Australian ambassador, Mike Parkinson, and he has given us. This is closer to War and Peace than a novella. This one.
Okay.
I always feel guilty sending email, as I feel you guys must be deluged with it, and with me posting on the forum, I also feel it's kind of redundant. But I've heard enough EPs now, not the last few mind, to hear you keep on requesting the stuff, so here goes. Good Lord, it's a novel. You're damn right it is. Firstly, I'm definitely planning on putting in $1 for your bike ride, so if I put in an Australian dollar, that should be like 27 cents. He says, and I'll send a postcard if you're after one from Australia. Heck yeah, I want one from Australia.
Sure,
Mike, what are you waiting for? But I'll warn you, it's not exciting. The best I could probably offer would be a big banana. Okay, Anna. Okay, a few things why I'm emailing. First of all, he says he's pimping his webcomic, which is very cool. I think we've all read it, and I try to go do it every day because I think it's funny.
Yeah, I do too. I've made it a point now that after him posting on the forum and checking it out, with him leaving messages and whatnot, I've gotten into a habit now of checking it every day, and
it's called Year One. It's like all the Marvel heroes if they were in kindergarten or first grade or so, and they're all wearing their costumes with their little kids, and it's quite amusing. And it's year1.spiderspawn.com, and you should go check it out. He does it Monday through Friday, and Sunday he does a color one. So 6 times a week you get a new cartoon. It's great.
And nothing's funnier than little tyke Nazis that just broke the hell up.
And he moves on. DC stuff. I mentioned this on the forums. Peter gave me some tips. I'm a huge Marvel fan, but I know hardly anything about the DC universe, barring the major players. Peter says that you've talked about stuff on the show before, like trades to pick up and get you up to speed on the DC universe, but I was also wondering, what are the must-have runs in the history of DC? Well, basically, since he sent this email, which is probably like a month ago, we've said that we have that thread, that sticky thread on the forum about what the required reading should be from the various companies and independent books and all kinds of stuff. So look for it. It's like the first posting on the forum. And item number 3, just wanted to say how much I love the podcast. I've been collecting comics for almost 20 years. I did stop for the last 5. We've got an 18-month-old boy, and I'm staying home looking after him while my wife works.
Somebody in my area of the world.
Say what you will, so we don't have a lot of expendable income. But finding this podcast, as others have said, has renewed my interest in comics. I tend to like talking and reading about my hobbies almost as much as doing them. Same with video games. So it's great to have something like this. I don't really know anyone that reads comics now. My last real experience talking with comic fans was when I was running a small shop about 10 years ago. And we had the living embodiment of Comic Shop Guy from The Simpsons, who would be waiting outside the door as I arrived and would hang around all day just describing plots of comics and movies I'd already seen. Lots of fun. So this is great. Keep it up. Any way I can support it, I will. I already plugged it several times on my site, and now it's up in the links section, so hopefully you'll get some traffic from me. Oh, just a side note. A reason the comic shop had to close was comics were in a bad way in Australia. Plus, it didn't help that if I didn't get to previews first to order stock, my dad would place the order, so we ended up getting like 200 copies of Silver Sable or 300 copies of every single Ultraverse title that was out that month. Nothing against these comics, but we were a small shop. We were lucky to sell 50 copies of X-Men. Anyway, I've rambled enough. Keep up the brilliant work. I'm loving it. From Mike Parkinson.
And a big thank you, Mike, for the latest Moon Knight comic strip that you did.
Yes. Since in recent days, Mike has been working on something special for us, and we will release that when it's all ready to go. But it's very cool, and I think everyone will get a kick out of it. right. This one is from... Gee, man, these people.
They like to write.
I scroll down and it
But
just
would you
keeps
have
going.
it any other way?
Yeah, I mean, that's cool though. They're taking the time to.
You know what it is? It's there are no more letter columns.
Yeah,
in
well, yeah,
books.
yeah.
So nobody can write. I mean, forums are different. You post little things. You don't really go into long diatribes
Or
about
ask,
things.
it's like this is a personal kind of thing, just like a letter column.
Yeah,
You're right.
And this is cool.
It's cool. All right, this one's from Brooke Bailey. It says, Brian and the rest of my CGS homies. Greetings from Dallas, Texas. I just wanted to drop you a line to tell you how much I enjoy your podcast. I've been listening for about 3 months, and it just keeps getting better. Here's a little background info for you. I'm 29 years old, but unlike most of your listeners, I've only been reading comics for a couple of years. I have no idea why I didn't start earlier. As a kid, I loved all the superhero cartoons and played with all the toys. Okay, I still love the cartoons and play with the toys. For my kids, wink, wink. I just never made the leap into comic books. Maybe it was simply a lack of exposure to them. Growing up, I didn't even know comic book shops existed. Jump ahead to March 2003. My brother-in-law loaned me a copy of the first Y the Last Man trade. What a great story that was. I remember thinking, hey, maybe there's something to this comic book stuff. So I wandered blindly into a local comic shop, Titan Comics, and threw myself at the mercy of the first employee I saw. Luckily, that employee was Jeremy Shore, the store owner. He really took the time to talk to me and figure out what kind of stories I might like before he made any suggestions. As a result, I ended up taking home some titles that I greatly enjoyed and still buy today. Books like Powers, Ultimate Spider-Man, and Fantastic Four. Okay, I can't mention Titan without also mentioning Lone Star Comics and Mesquite. They also rock. Now I spend an average of $30 a week on comics, and that doesn't even count back issues and trades. And to think it all started with Y the Last Man. If I ever meet Brian K. Vaughan, I'll have to give him a hearty handshake and a big thank you. However, if my wife ever meets him, she's probably going to punch him in the neck. She has some weird hang-ups about long boxes cluttering our house, and she thinks money should be spent on trivial things like rent and food. Crazy broad. Okay, if you guys actually read this scattered epic-length message on the air, I have to add 2 quick statements in case my darling wife ever hears this. Number 1, I'm just kidding, sweetie. Number 2, I think you're really pretty. Anyway, the Cliff's Note version of my secret origin story here is that I'm fairly new to comics. That's where your show comes in. None of my friends read comics, and my current work schedule doesn't really allow me any time to hang out and jibber-jabber with the guys at the comic shop. So you guys have sort of become my surrogate comic store pals. Sadly, you can't hear me when I talk back to you during your show. I guess that's what email is for, eh? Speaking of talking back to you, I just listened to episode 35, and I think you were right on when you were talking about the cohesiveness of the DC universe. A year ago, I was only buying a few DC titles, but they've done such a great job building this interconnected world, I have to know what's going on in every corner of it. Consequently, the number of DC books I buy has grown exponentially. Of course, I'm also a big sucker. For example, before the War Games arc, the only Bat books I bought were Batman and Birds of Prey. Now, post-War Games, I'm also getting Batgirl, Robin, Nightwing, Gotham Knights, and Gotham Central. Likewise, thanks to crossovers with Teen Titans and Wonder Woman, I've also added Outsiders and Flash to my monthly must-have list. By the time Infinite Crisis is over, I'll be auctioning vital organs on eBay and selling crack to school kids just to keep up the habit. I also totally agree with you that Joss Whedon's run on Astonishing X-Men has been awesome. To me, it illustrates the difference between good comics and great comics. With good comics, you can't wait to turn the page and see what happens next. With great comics, you can't even think about what's coming next because you're so wowed by what's happening on the current page. Astonishing X-Men is a great comic. I've rambled on long enough. I'm working on a Stump the Rios that I hope to send you within the next couple of days. I'm amazed by, and a little frightened of, Peter and Jamie's ability to recall the most minute details of stories they haven't read in years. In fact, I think the only thing stronger than Jamie's encyclopedic knowledge of comics is his pimp hand. Damn straight, biatch! I also plan on joining the forum as soon as possible, if only to check out Peter's monumental JLA Avengers Smackdown. As long as you guys are talking, I'll keep listening. You're like my very own Jedi Council of Comics. Your humble Padawan, Brooke Bailey. P.S. Please tell Jamie that, like him, I am eagerly awaiting next week's release of Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious X-Men #1. So it might have been long, but it was worth it. All right.
Pretty really gives me a big ego. That was great, Jedi Council. I like that. I'll take it.
We'll have to come up with our Star Wars names.
Yeah.
All right, this one is from Dave Anderson in Seattle, Washington. Hey guys, love the show. It's nice to hear more comic book perspectives, as I am sure my reading has been pretty narrow. Also, I love that I get to hear the names that I have never knew how to pronounce, like Perez and Ra's al Ghul. What's up with the Batman animated series pronunciation of Ra's al Ghul? I listen as I draw a comic which will be pitched to Image when it's done. Cross your fingers. Hopefully I'll have a little cash to get that Daredevil book for your next Book of the Month podcast. But they don't call a starving artist for nothing. Keep up the good work.
Hey, send that issue to us. We'll review it.
I actually emailed him back, and he said, hey, I'd love to send you a copy when the book is finished. So,
look forward to it.
Yeah, that's very cool. Oh, and he said that he thinks I sound like Zach Braff from Scrubs and Garden State. So I don't know if that's true, but that's what he says.
Yeah, a little bit. I could see that.
I love that movie, Garden State, by the way, man. You need to see that movie if you haven't
There's
seen
Peter
it.
shaking his head
What the
again.
hell are you shaking your head at?
Natalie Portman.
Not only Natalie Portman, but New Jersey.
Yeah, but it's a
No,
good
I'm
movie.
kidding. I don't know a thing about New Jersey.
I bought the DVD. I haven't watched it yet. So
I said Peter alienate 1/50th of our country.
Well, I mean, in Pennsylvania, it's just like the joke to
Right.
hate Jersey. That's,
Especially when you're in Philly.
Well, no, I know that. My
No,
mother,
I'm explaining for
my
the-
mother comes from New Jersey, so it's like another country.
Yeah, I'm explaining for our listeners. Yeah, we always make jokes about how we wish they would let them secede from the Union, or could it fall into the ocean, or anything like that.
On the-
Crazy Jersey drivers and all that
Yeah.
nonsense.
On the board, the one guy even said, like, North Jersey and South Jersey are ready to start, like, a civil war with
Yeah.
each other.
America's Vietnam.
This next email is from Mike Pedersen, who we actually met in San Diego. He and his wife are down there. He lives in San Diego, so that bastard gets to go every year. It's like his 16th year at San Diego. It's like, oh.
Yeah. It
And
was
I expect to be shacked up next year.
Yeah, next year, no hotel. We're crashing your place, Mike. That's actually a good deal. If we can get another $200 plane ticket and we can sleep at his place,
That'd be
I hope
even
his
better.
wife's a good cook. That'd be awesome.
Hey, we could go to any convention then.
That's right.
Any-
We'll just meet a
anybody-
listener in
the
every
one guy
town.
invited us down to Atlanta.
That's right.
Although
So
now
Heroes
they
Con or
canceled
whatever.
that.
We got Florida coming up, Boston. We'll go everywhere.
Yeah.
As long as we got a place to stay. And
That's
we'll do a podcast from your house.
There you go. You can be a special guest on the podcast.
Wow.
Roving.
We better
Road
watch
trip.
out what we say. We're going to get, like, all these invitations. Directions to their house.
The Great American CGS store.
Yeah.
That's right.
on the road with CGS.
That's right. That's a good idea, actually.
not?
Hey, if I can stay for free, I'm a cheap bastard. That's more comics I can buy.
I'll sleep
if
on the floor. I don't
That's
care.
right. I'll bring a sleeping bag.
Hell yeah.
No problems there. All right. It says, good evening, speakers of the Geek. First of all, I must apologize for not emailing you guys sooner. I've been listening since episode 2 came out and absolutely love the show. Yours is the first podcast I listen to when downloading new episodes. I have one major complaint, though. Listening to you guys banter and discuss the subject I love most makes me yearn for other people to share my love of comics with. I have no one at my geek level to talk comics with, although my wife humors me occasionally as I rant about creator's storyline and the glut of crap coming out of Marvel lately. On the positive side, I have the geographic luck to be located in the comic book mecca San Diego, and have attended each San Diego Comic-Con since 1989. Rub it in. I'm a 31-year-old married teacher who has been collecting comics since 1985. My collection of long boxes is too large to keep in my current apartment. I have over 9,000 comics.
Wow.
So I'm forced to keep them in a separate storage unit. Can you say separation anxiety? Oh, man, that would kill me.
I could never do that.
The comic book that got me interested in collecting was Avengers 191, drawn by George Perez. I would owe you so much money since I've been mispronouncing his name until Peter's story about calling him clued me into correct pronunciation. Actually, it was me that called him and got reamed out on the telephone for mispronouncing his name. I would love to meet up with you guys at the con, which we already did. Okay, yeah. And that's the end of the email. It says, keep up the good work of spreading the geek love.
It was nice to meet both he and his lovely wife.
Yes, it was.
I could never put my stuff in a storage unit, man. I'd build my kids' beds over it
You
first.
never sleep.
Yeah.
What do you do late at night when you wake up and
Yeah,
you want to read? You
yeah.
gotta go, like, huddle in your storage booth.
Well, he might, he still, like he said, he can't house all the comics, but so he he probably still has maybe a box or two that
a rotating selection.
I thought I'd be
Current
good
stuff,
when I moved in my apartment when me and my wife first got married, and I had him at my parents' house. It was like 15 minutes away. I couldn't stand it. I brought him in and I shoved him in a closet and put posters all on the inside of the closet. I made him my own little geek closet because I couldn't stand not having him in the same house.
Shane, you were with me when I moved out of New York. What was the first thing I took?
Comic books,
Comic
man.
books.
Comic
They were
books.
the
We
first
loaded
thing that went.
20-some boxes of them suckers in the trucks.
2 cars.
That's
what
right.
floor was your apartment on? The third floor?
It was on the second floor, but they were only like between 8
Little
to 10
tiny
steps.
steps.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
just-
still.
But man, Peter's
they were the
like,
first
well, what are
things
we
that
getting?
went.
Clothes or computer? No, comics.
Comics.
All right, let's get it out. Can't leave them there.
All right, this next email is from Sam Leet. Hi, I recently started listening to your shows, and honestly, they rule. When I'm listening, it feels like I'm hanging out with my friends and talking about comics and stuff. Okay, my friends if they had American accents, but still, he's from the UK. Anyways, I am a UK-based listener and love the show, but I have a favor to ask. You probably get asked this all the time, but can you mention my webcomic on your show? Certainly. It's www.dialupramen.com, as in ramen noodles, but it's spelled that way, R-A-M-E-N. It's his comic. It's new and small at the moment, but I'm hoping that with the support of other groups and such, I'll be able to get a big readership. I know it's a lot to ask, but regardless of whether you mention me or not, your show is great, and I'm going to link it on my site. Where is the best place to link to, and do you have a button banner I can use? Actually, we do have a new banner that if you go to worldfamouscomics.com and you click on the podcast section, we have a new banner that we made for that, so you could steal that from there. It's like perfect size, probably. So, www.dialupramen.com is Sam Leet's webcomic. So check it out.
Cool.
Does it say where in the UK he's from?
No, just the UK.
Well, we'll throw in a blimey and a core and a bloody for it.
Yeah, I hear his
Right.
webcomic is the dog's bollocks. So, and that means it's good, unlike what you might think it does. So,
It makes me want to slag a chick. Slag with a chick. Or no. A chick that's a slag. No, forget it. I'm tired.
what the
go
hell
on.
are you talking about?
A slag is a loose girl over and
Okay.
snob. That's what it is. Snog.
Snog.
Damn.
You know, a snog.
This is like the Puerto
A
Rican
snog is like
English
making out.
Is making
dictionary.
out.
It's making out. That's what I
You
meant. I want to
snog a
snog.
chick,
It makes
you-
me want to
you make
snog
out.
with a slag. That's what I wanted to say. By that was like going around 5 blocks to get to the
That
point.
was like an
You
evolution
need
of
to
a
watch
word.
some more BBC America.
I do.
BBC America, yeah.
Turn my mic off.
Alrighty. The next one is from a person who we've heard lots from before, Bruce Rosenberger. It says, hi, I've been doing my own podcast of sorts for several weeks now. It's aimed at its audience, a Yahoo group that is ostensibly dedicated to Jack Kirby. If you have some time to listen, I'd love to hear some feedback. He actually sent it to me because he's got some special link.
We announced it before. It's comicscast.com, right?
Well, he doesn't have that here unless he's updated it, and he has a link, and it's a very long, crazy link, so I'll have to post it. Oh, the link will expire in 7 days.
Yeah, it's comicscast, and that's with 2 Ks.
Okay.
We talked about
he
it
registered
before.
a domain name now.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Bruce is a cool guy. He sent us Geeks of the Day and trivia questions and stuff. He had the good Star Wars meeting Mark Hamill story.
I'm waiting for the shoe five ply.
I'm extremely toxic.
I'm extremely excited.
Need some more alcohol.
Is it friggin' swear?
Fucking swear. Oh my goodness. I'm trying to.
It's too much Malibu rum last night. Just out of it.
You actors.
Lush.
Working on that alcohol problem.
Oh,
It's that time, Peter. I
great.
thought you were going to get by. And as soon as you started slurring your words, I knew it was time. Throw it in here. All right. This is the British Stump the Rios here. It's from Sam Harrison. Question number 1. From the Hellblazer storyline, Hard Time, what was the name of Taylor's prison bride?
Bubba.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
And it was Candy. Okay, question number 2. The characters from which British TV show were featured in the pages of Jack Star #1? And what is the name of their captain?
You mean Jack Staff?
Jack Staff. What did I say? Star. Yeah, Jack Staff #1.
Say it again.
The characters from which British TV show were featured in the pages of Jack Staff #1? And what is the name of their captain? He says that was a big clue.
It's got to be something, I guess, on a boat or ship or something like that. I have no idea.
If I had to guess, I would say Red Dwarf, but I have no idea.
The answer, Dad's Army, Captain Mannering.
Okay.
You're not up on your British television shows?
No.
Question number 3. In Captain Britain, as written by my fellow Brit and favorite comic writer Alan Moore, the titular character was killed by a symbiote called the Fury. Merlin and Roma rebuilt Captain Britain from his remains after his death. What were those remains?
Like body parts? Like
remains. Yeah.
His groinage.
His twig and berries. His John Thomas. One-eyed trouser snake. No, the answer is a rag, a bone, and a hank of hair.
Lips and asshole.
No, that's hot dogs, Jamie.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, he stumped
We
you.
owe him something.
We got to send him something.
He says, "There you go. Hope you don't get these, so I can get a prize." I lent my V to somebody and never got it back. Oh, you missed it by one.
You just missed it by
the
one.
last
Yep.
one. So I could do with a new one. Also, I hope you're happy I played fairly. 1 DC question, 1 indie question, and 1 Marvel question. I tried not to be too obscure. So
he doesn't get the Beaver and Ted.
No, so Sam, send us your snail mail address because
Send you
we got to
some other
ship something
goodies.
off to the UK. But you better send me a postcard and make up for it. So I'll have to leave that one marked here.
I got to start reading more. I got to read everything.
Read more.
Yeah.
I've got to stop eating and sleeping.
Must read. Sit in lazy chair. Must read.
Okay, this one's from Rick Gordon. Gentlemen, I feel compelled to finally sit down and get a few things off my chest. First, you guys kick podcast ass. I've been collecting for over 30 years and have even worked in a comic shop from the mid-'80s black and white indie explosion to the early 90s multicolor madness. The thing I miss most about working in the store was the camaraderie between customer and crew, geek and nerd, collector to casual reader, especially on new book night. That feeling is back and better than ever. Thank you. I found you guys when Apple released the updated iTunes and proceeded to acquire and listen to every episode available in under a week. That's insane. That's like 30 hours of listening. That, to me, is a true testament of your skills, talent, and creativity. Again, thank you. And now for something a little less serious. Please recommend www.superdickery.com to all your listeners. We have had that on our forum several times.
3 times, yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very funny. Superdickery.com if you haven't seen it. It is a laugh riot. And www.superherohype.com is pretty good, but you already know that. You check it,
Yeah,
right?
I check that every day. That's one of the websites I got into about a couple years ago when the superhero movies kicked off.
Yeah.
They started out with a Spider-Man movie website, and it grew into every hero movie website. Very informative.
Cool. So thank you, Rick. Okay. I like this. This guy's subject of his email is, "The show rocks much ass."
Is that a crack about my ass?
This one is from Carlo Carino. He says, "Greetings from Guam."
Ooh, new place.
I have to mark that. Of course, Guam's so tiny, it's probably not even on my map. I'll just put a little red dot in the Pacific. But I could definitely use a postcard from Guam. Of course, it'll just have a regular U.S. stamp, I guess, but still, it's cool.
Yeah.
I wanted you to know that I've been just devouring the podcast and archives ever since I found it on iTunes 4.9. It's not always easy to find people to talk comics with, but listening to the cast makes me feel like I'm back with my high school geek squad once more. I spent hours hooking up a killer Alpine system in my car that hooks up to my iPod. About $300 worth of mods. What a waste. All that work, and now all I do is listen. Now all I listen to now while I drive is guys in a room talking comics. But you guys sound fantastic in ultra high fidelity.
Yeah, kick and bass tone.
That's right, yeah. Anyway, just wanted to give my thoughts on the FF movie. I saw it on opening night, and the theater was packed with people of all ages. My inner geek tried really hard to hate the film. Doom was terrible and not the character I grew up with. The special effects were okay, but lacked punch with the exception of Torch. The screenplay and direction were average at best. I wanted to be outraged, but I enjoyed the flick despite myself. I think the characters and their relationships within the FF rang mostly true, and Ben, Johnny, and Reed were done just about right. Sue was close, but they should have gone older. The FF movie is like the FF comics. If you get the personalities right, it's still enjoyable. Most gratifying, every child in the theater had a blast. They were totally invested in the characters. The team completely captured their imaginations, and I feel like the FF will gain lifelong fans from this movie. Anyway, that's all for now. Keep up the good work. My wife and I love the show. Your friend and fan in geekery, Carlo Carino. So I would imagine that if he's out in Guam, that he probably sees a lot of manga because half of Guam is Japanese people who live there. So it's probably flooded with manga. Let us know, Carlo, if that's true. Wow, we're getting through some emails now. I only have 84 to go.
We still got time.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. It's so funny. And by the time we do the next podcast, we'll have 17 more, and we'll be higher than we were before. This one is from Ryan Haynes in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I was just thinking about some of my more geekish traits, and, well, I have named my cat Uncle Owen, and I thought that maybe other listeners or maybe you yourselves might have some comic book-related names for your pets. Peter?
My cat my ex-cat was named Grayson for Dick Grayson, obviously for Nightwing.
Yeah,
and my dog was named Electra.
Yes.
I tried to get my wife to let me name my firstborn Grayson, but she didn't go for it. So I have Ben and Matt.
No.
Not really related to comics, but
Ben Grimm
inadvertently.
and Matt Murdock.
Yeah.
That's all, every time I see your kids, that's all I think of.
Yeah.
You know?
Inadvertently. Kind of like pets.
Yeah. My second point comes from a comment a couple of shows ago when you were talking about online comics and downloading. Someone commented on the ill success of online comic strips, and I must say that it is a falsehood. There are a couple of online comics that I really love. They are not superhero comics, to be sure, but they are bright spots in my week. www.dieselsweeties.com and www.catandgirl.com. I like the show a lot, guys. I overheard you talking about GarageBand and how you use it to produce the show. I would love a little info on what aspects of the show you use it for. Basically, we just use it to record. We have a mixer with all our mics and stuff that's plugged into the Mac, and we just use GarageBand to record that stream. It's really pretty simple. It's not all that fancy at all. I also have a PC that outputs into the mixer. That's where I play the sound effects from the PC, and then it all gets mixed over through the mixer right into the Mac. So, not super fancy.
We're simple folk.
You look like you were going to say something, Peter.
No.
No. Okay.
I'm
Are you sure
hungry.
you don't have anything to say?
No, I'm hungry.
nothing?
We didn't. I don't think we dissed online comic strip. We just said some. I remember Matt saying
I
something
thought we
about.
just said they would never take over for
Yeah.
the
They
regular
would never
comic.
replace comics.
Yeah. No, I think they definitely have a place in the industry.
There are some that I've checked out that have been amusing, like the one we talked about, the Year One thing is funny because it's just making fun of Marvel Comics. I love it.
How about the one that sent you guys the trade? Sent us
Yeah,
the trade.
that one, Alpha
Shade.
Alpha Shade. That's really good, and I'm really looking forward. I haven't been reading it online because I just want to read it in book format. Maybe because I just like reading things in book format. But there was one, and it was nominated for an Eisner this year, and now I can't remember. Well, it's like a female Indiana Jones kind of thing, and it's really it looks like regular comic art. It's not cutesy comic, and it's basically like a lot of online comics are like 4 little panels or something, but this is like like a full. It's like they drew a comic book and then just one page at a time scanned it in and put it online.
Athena Voltaire
Yeah, that's it.
by Steve Bryant.
That's really cool, but you have to pay. You pay a monthly fee or a yearly fee or something, and then you can read it every day. They give you a few pages that are free, and I checked it out, and it looked awesome. But I don't, I mean, if it's to me, it's like if it's online, it should be free. Publish it in a comic, and I'll buy it. But I, for my personal taste, I would love to see more like actual comic books that are just scanned in and put online. Like if people who can't get their comic published, just do your regular comic as a webcomic. But the people who do webcomics try to make it each page tell a story, as opposed to you need to turn the page and get them. So I see the difference, but I'm just more into comic books, I guess. Mm-hmm. And speaking of which, our next email is actually from Mike Parkinson again, the guy who does Year One. So it's a perfect segue there. I have to say, regarding the topic of scans, there is one area where they do come in handy. Cross-gen and Valiant titles. I've been looking for them. I can't find them. My shop, and there's only one in my state, and even the others I've checked online in Australia, don't have the trades, and after hearing you talk about cross-gen, it's reinvigorated my interest. So yes, scans would come in handy then. Also scans of early stuff like Tales of Suspense and all those books would be great. Keep up the good work. I managed to get through a sizable chunk of my backlog of EPs today and enjoyed every minute of it. With the Podcast Alley voting thing, how regularly do you vote? Is it a daily thing, or I suppose I should just check the site, shouldn't I? Podcast Alley is monthly. You can vote for each podcast once a month. You can vote for as many podcasts as you want within a month, but you can only vote for a podcast once per month.
And this will air in August, so definitely.
So go vote.
Go vote.
Actually, we were doing really well in July. The highest we got was like 77. Like we were lower in the very beginning. We were like 50, but then we went up. But before we were then getting pushed back to like 100. So now we've been getting enough votes that were keeping us lower at 77. We'd still love to break the 50 mark, but that's
right.
You got to get a lot more votes for that.
The other thing you can do is if you have two computers in your house, you can vote from each computer.
You have to have two different email addresses.
Two different email, which most people, I assume, probably do have, more than one. So
that's kind of like cheating,
So,
in regards to that scanning comics, that is starting to be a market now that they're doing and putting them on CDs.
Yeah, Marvel has a book that
Marvel has you can buy right now at most of your computer retailers is the whole collection of Amazing Spider-Man, all 500 issues, for like $40. And I heard they're doing an FF, and I think they're doing an X-Men one as well.
Wow!
So they're starting as
long as inexpensive way to get 500 issues.
Yeah. So I mean, they're starting as long as they sell, they're going to continue to do them. So that's a good way.
Did you buy that, Kevin?
No, I didn't buy it myself personally yet, but I've been thinking about it just to see what it was like. I almost kind of like want to see something first before I want to spend that money. But for $40, I mean that's dirt cheap for 500 issues.
See how it loads, how you have to flip the pages.
I mean, I heard they scan actual comics, so it's not like they take the original art, from the plates and things like that, and publish it that way. They actually do scan books in. So some of the books,
might look a little rough.
Yeah, like the covers, they might be in very fine condition or very good condition or something, rather than being in mint. But I heard that they've started to upgrade their books and stuff to give it more of a higher quality.
How soon before we start seeing printed fake copies of books?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was wondering, is that they probably don't allow the printing, and you might.
Maybe there's
if it fits on screen, then it's going to be small. That if you printed a screen, it wouldn't look right. It would.
See, now Marvel has done that though, because somebody got for my brother got me for Christmas was the Marvel CD collection of comics, which has I forget how many titles on, but it has like the first 10 issues, a whole bunch of titles.
Yeah, that's the one I remember.
And those
seeing.
you can view them in black and white. You can view them in color, and you can also has the covers and everything, and it's all done from the original plates, so it's the original crisp artwork, not scanned from books, and you can print them out. You can print them out in color, black and white, whatever you want to do.
Huh.
Can you
print
imagine
your own comics?
Uh-oh.
Can you imagine one of us taking, those old Spider-Man comics and mashing them in a scanner and getting the pages off? Oh.
But actually, I wanted to say, talking about online comics, CrossGen, when they were still in business, they had every comic that they published available online. And you paid a really small fee. It was like $15 or something for a whole year, or $12 a year or something and you could get every comic they published. And it was real nice. The way it worked is you would mouse over the word balloon and it would get bigger so that you could read the text, and then as soon as you moved the mouse it went back to normal size so you didn't interfere with your artwork then. They were really nice because they had a bunch up for free. And again, $12 for every comic they published. And for a whole year, it was almost free, basically. Of course, they went out of business, and now you can't read those comics online anymore. But it was very.
It was only $12, and it was almost the same as free.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the next one here. This one's from Leo in Texas. Hi to you guys from Texas. I love the show, and I've listened to all of the episodes except the comic book of the month. I'll listen to it when I pick up the book, which will be the first comic I've bought in about 8 years. I think your superpower is the ability to make people buy comics. I can just picture Mr. Marvelous sending his thoughts through the mic, buy comics, buy comics. I especially love the special shows you've had, like the Saturday morning cartoons and the Batman Begins, spoilers included show. I was also going to suggest that you have an episode devoted to one comic book movie that was released before your show started, like X-Men or Spider-Man. Then I had a better idea. Maybe you could record yourselves while you watch the entire movie so we could listen to your comics, like the commentaries included in DVDs. Whoa. I know it might be a pain to set up the recording, so you only record your own comments and not record any of the DVD audio, and it would be a really long show. If that's too long for you, maybe try a half-hour show like a comic animated series that's been released on DVD, or an episode of The Greatest American Hero, which has been released on DVD. I think it would be a lot of fun to listen to. Thanks again for all the great episodes, and love the Crusaders, Leo. That's actually kind of a cool
interesting idea.
Good idea, yeah.
That would be fun to have, and then you just queue up your podcast to the DVD and have your own commentary. We should try that.
Yeah, because it'd be long, but we could put it up as 2 parts. You know,
yeah.
It doesn't have to be
one
just
break it in
downloadable
half.
thing.
I mean,
that'd be a lot
Comic
of fun.
Geek Speak 3000. Would be?
Yeah, exactly. In the not too distant future.
But we also have enough of the cartoons. We could even try those too. Like I have the Super Friends, Batman, Superman cartoons.
Yeah, but if we do like that Justice League Unlimited,
yeah,
then Peter will just be right in
yeah.
front of
Wait,
pause it,
rewind.
Oh my God,
rewind.
That's Shining Knight and Vigilante, and in the back there's Stars and Stripe, and go back. It's no, that's not Stars and Stripe. Who is that? Who's that? Oh yeah, that's who that is.
Now I'm going to make you watch Superman 1 5 times in a row.
I can watch it. It's just boring as hell. I'll fall asleep.
See, and this is what's going to happen if we do it. We're going to be straggling each other by the end of the movie.
But you know what? It's funny.
That's
is
right.
funny.
I think we should do it.
That's not a bad
I think
idea.
the next time we get together on a Friday or Saturday night, we should plan that.
Have we all seen Catwoman?
No.
Maybe we should start with something we've never seen.
We can go rent it.
Yep,
right
something
for the
we've
bone, right?
Why not?
But the problem is we'd have to hear the audio, but
To
we
get
don't
it.
want to record the audio because it would sound
We'd have to
funny
watch
in the
it
back.
twice.
We'd
and I
have
don't
to
know if I
watch
want to
it
put
twice.
myself
yeah.
through that.
Putting the microphone right by us won't work. Like like we are now, and like letting it.
Well,
I
we'd
guess
still
that'd
be
hard.
talking over
we'd
the
be
audio.
paying attention to the movie.
Yeah.
You'd have to do something you already saw so
we
that you can just
could
turn
try
the
it.
volume down.
You could test it out and see how if it doesn't interfere because.
With my sound system,
Yeah,
you're
with
going to
his
hear
sound
it.
system, yeah.
Well, I mean,
Just like you hear the dogs bark and everything.
I mean, you can try. You know what I mean? You can try to adjust.
Unless we did we split the audio out 5 ways and we all listened to headphones and then
Yeah.
you wouldn't hear to the mic.
That would be cool.
That would be
yeah,
funny.
see, that's
See, there's a way to
that's
do
kind of
it.
what I was thinking.
Yeah, there's a way to do it.
Well, we'll have to try to set that up because that's such a notoriously awful movie. It would be kind of fun.
If anybody has any suggestions about how the setup of it,
Well,
send us-
again, we'll just have to split the headphones
Right,
a bunch of different ways.
Leo's got the juices flowing.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't even have to. I'll just
No, 'cause you got the
I'll just we
equalizers.
already split the headphones, so I'll just do it the same way. We'll have to get another splitter though. But hey, no problem.
Is there another movie we haven't all seen? Catwoman's the only one, probably, right? We should
Yeah,
do that
probably.
just to start it.
Perfect.
Come on, because we've never seen it. So we have.
Thank you so much, Leo from Texas. You've created a monster.
He's got to get a credit.
I love that idea.
Wow.
Oh man, that's awesome.
More distractions.
But
Carlene,
now
I got to go to Brian's again.
That's cool, though. We can have a whole series of commentary tracks from
Yeah.
all the different movies, and you can just listen to them at your will. It doesn't matter if no one listens to them,
Right.
but if one guy does, hey, he can have fun with us.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
That may be worth watching some of those old bad Marvel movies.
Oh.
Or that old Super Friends
No.
roast.
No, that's I'm never going to force myself to watch that Fantastic Four movie again ever.
I didn't pick out a
I
specific
will
one.
stick needles in my eyes before that happens again.
What about the Captain America one?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that?
Oh yeah.
Doctor
Yeah.
Strange,
Doctor Strange, I have that too.
Generation
Spider-Man
X,
one.
Nick Fury.
I have those on tape.
But see, how many people
like
could
the
actually
movie.
listen to him? Though? I mean, like watch the movie because
Yeah,
That's
nobody
true.
can get
That's
those.
gotta
on
do
tape.
the
That's what I was
movies
thinking
first.
too. That with all the comments we've gotten with the video game thing, was the fact that how many people are going to sit there and just listen to us watch the movie and not be able to see what we're seeing?
Well, that's why he said we should. You
You'd
guys
have
got to
to-
queue it up. You got to queue it up and just
Just
Play it
listen
along.
in tandem.
play along. That's a great
Oh,
idea.
that'd be funny.
Got a few more short ones we can buzz through.
Now I got to work with Blockbuster or something to
Yeah.
free rentals. And
Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix. You can.
We should start being subsidized by the comics. I mean, because with all these people giving emails and saying like
I
they're buying
know.
comics now because listening to the show.
Maybe we're the reason why market share is up so high.
That's right. It's all us.
Our plan is working.
Hey, we have an audio geek of the day here. This one is from. Oops, wait a minute. What the hell's going on here?
I hate it when oops, wait a minute. Sends the stuff in.
It wouldn't be a
This
show
one's
without a
from-
technical difficulty.
From Bradley Milio in Texas. We seem to have a lot of
Texas.
Texan listeners here. Anyway, here's his
Could use a
audio.
couple female Texans.
Here's his audio geek of the day.
Hey guys, my name's Brad Milo from Louisville, Texas, a little town north of Dallas. And I just wanted to say I love the show. I won an iPod off the radio, an iPod Shuffle off the radio recently. Found you guys' podcast, and that thing was around my neck for 2 solid weeks, catching up on all the episodes. I love the show. It's great. In listening to all your episodes, I made a laundry list of things I just wanted to say, comment on, things I wanted to ask about. I made notes. Brian, I'm a Marvel zombie as well. Started out with Marvel. Marvel's my favorite. Don't know much about DC. I'm learning a lot lately, though, especially from listening to Peter. Peter, I'm impressed with your DC knowledge. When the show started out, it was just you two guys, and the rapport you guys had going was awesome. It just felt like me and my old buddies sitting around talking about books, and that was awesome. Shane, I wanted to agree with you in saying the prequel trilogy books were great. They added a lot to the movie. The experiences in watching the movie after reading the books, it just added so much and made the movies that much more enjoyable for me. I also wanted to recommend to you, if you haven't read it, you probably have, and to anybody else who might be interested, the Han Solo trilogy, written by A.C. Crispin, is phenomenal. Not the Brian Daley trilogy that was written back in the early 80s, but just 5-6 years ago maybe. Starts off with Han Solo like when he's 9 years old, and the last book ends with him walking into the cantina at the beginning of New Hope, so it's pretty sweet. And Jamie, I wanted to comment on your enthusiasm when you talk. I can just hear it in your voice. It's like you eat, sleep, breathe comics. I think that's cool. On the Star Wars special episode, it was during the trivia, and somebody asked what John Ratzenberger's character's name was, and I don't even remember what it was. Durlin? Major Durlin, something like that. Somebody said, wasn't he the guy that told Leia the shield doors must be closed? And you said, no, that's not him. Well, you know what? I thought it was. So I looked at my DVD, and it turns out it was his character. If you look at it closely, you can tell it is John Ratzenberger. I think what threw you off is the fact that I believe they dubbed in somebody else's voice on top of him, because it wouldn't sound very cool to have Cliff Clavin telling Leia, yeah, we got to close the shield doors, yeah, So anyway, Jamie, Brian, and Tasha, I'm extremely jealous of you guys getting to go to the con, and especially meeting and interviewing Peter David. That freaking rocks. Peter David is my favorite author of all time. If you guys haven't read the Sir Apropos of Nothing trilogy that he wrote, it's just a fantasy trilogy. It's amazing. You guys got to check that out. It's called Sir Apropos of Nothing. It's very, very cool. Today I made my first posts on the forum. Been checking that out, but I've never posted, but I did today. I'm an editor by trade, so my name on the forum is Edit This. Anyway, that's me. And I recently made my first order with In-Stock Trades. Me and a guy here at work went in together, halvesies, so we can get our $50 worth and get free shipping. I'm picking up the Crisis trade, and Jamie, I believe, mentioned the history of DCU, and then that caught my eye, so I picked that up as well. Then I had a couple of questions, requests, if you will. Shane, I wanted to hear you talk about Moon Knight just a bit, just to kind of give somebody who's unfamiliar with him a real easy explanation of his origin, how he got it, what books he's been in. Peter, I wondered if you could talk about 0 Hour and contrast that with Crisis and explain to me what the difference was. I bought 0 Hour and read it, but I couldn't even tell you what it did or what its intention was. So if you could just comment on that, that'd be great. So anyway, guys, like I said, I love the show. Look forward to the next episode, and keep up the good work. Take care.
Okay,
That's cool.
that's the perfect kind of geek of the day. I love
Yeah.
those. Okay. The 0 hour explanation will take about an entire episode, so we're going to talk about that in the next episode, we promise. And I have read the Han Solo books by A.C. Crispin, and they are excellent.
And
It's
I
just-
actually haven't.
Yeah, you need to, because it's so cool because it's a character you know and you love, and you get to find out how he hooks up with Chewbacca and all that stuff. It's just fun.
I've been very picky about my Star Wars books I read, and I've stayed away from a lot of that stuff, but I've heard a few of my Star Wars friends have said that is a good one. And,
Yeah, and it tells you about his whole relationship with Jabba the Hutt and all that stuff. So it really fills in a lot of the gaps in the movies, so
Cool.
you know what's going on. And it's Kevin who's the Moon Knight
yeah, the Moon Knight freak.
buff. So maybe in the next episode as well,
Yeah.
because we're running out of time on this one. So Kevin can give a rundown of Moon Knight.
But thanks for the compliment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I mean that was a perfect.
That's great. and he did a kick-ass Cliff Clavin.
Yeah. So I think that I think that's
Brings
gonna
another
wrap-
all listener episode to a close.
Yeah. So, if you want to email us, it is comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. Visit our blog at comicgeekspeak.blogspot.com. For more information about the Comics Podcast Network, you can go to comicspodcast.com. We want to thank Bob at GameCircuit.net for hosting the show. Vote for us at Podcast Alley and subscribe to us using iTunes. If you want, you can get a T-shirt with our logo proudly printed on it. They are $10 including shipping. You can order them right on our blog. And once again, we are bringing you this in association with WorldFamousComics.com, the best spot on the internet for all your comic news. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.